It's day 3 of the war, and we've been live since the very first strikes, tracking every development, every escalation, every reaction. So today we did something different. We asked you, what do you want to know about this war? And so many of you have sent in your questions. Question number 1, what exactly is happening? The US and Israel attacked Iran. They killed Iran's supreme leader. His name was Ayatollah Khamenei. So Iran retaliated. Question 2, is this war going to get bigger? It looks like it will. Question number 3, when will it end? The right answer is we don't know. That's the honest answer. Nobody knows. The conflict is showing no signs of stopping. Question number 4, will Russia, China and the NATO join this war? The answer is no. Question number 5, will this go nuclear? The answer is a nuclear escalation is highly unlikely. It won't come to that. Question number 6, what role is the United Nations playing? Very good question. So the best the United Nations can do is condemn. That's what they've done. Question 7, what does it mean for oil importing countries like India? Well, it's not good news. New Delhi imports nearly 90% of our crude needs. Any disruption right now will directly impact India, and not in a good way. Question 8, why is the US doing this at all? Honestly, we don't know. The American people don't know either.
All right, Shalom. As always, all praises, honor, and glory goes to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakahak Wadash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and salutations to the elect scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. Lord willing, this one will be edifying to the elect. And this is Revelations chapter 11, verse 14, and it reads, the second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. And the second woe is referring to World War II, which has already passed. And the third woe is referring to World War III, which we're currently in the beginning stages, which it is here. Okay, so this war between Iran and the US is a part of World War III. It's a buildup because things are only going to get worse. Okay, because when it comes to these different treaties, right, you have BRICS, you have the NATO and the EU, which BRICS is a collective of nations, right? It's a intergovernmental organization, which, you know, with Russia, South Africa, even Iran. Iran is a part of BRICS, India, and a bunch of other countries, China as well, because China is a big part of that as well. So regardless of, you know, people such as this lady here, this reporter here, reporting on the war, you know, stating it as a US and Iran war, it's really a world war because all of these nations are still involved in some way, shape, or form. And it's only going to bring them in more and more, you know, as the scriptures speak about, you know, the least of the flock, you know, drawing them out, you know, and the least of the flock refers to, you know, the small hats, you know, the Amalekites, you know, the leaders of the Edomite race. You know, they're going to bring forth their destruction. You know, they're going to draw out all nations, you know, including their lower tribe men or lower nation men. That's how I should say that, because they look down on these other Edomites. You know, these so-called Jews. You know, these little hats. They look down on these other Edomites. You know, they look at them as goyim, as they look at they look on the other nations, right? But again, it says the second woe is past, World War II, which is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly, right? And we're currently in that third woe, right? And the time of that destruction, the end, is here. Okay, we're so much more closer to the end, you know, because a world war is not just about the last 2 days of destruction, you know, especially if you take a look at the background here, it's very, very fitting. You know, at the start of this video here, the background, you know, her background here shows a very good depiction of how, you know, countries are left after a war. Okay, and this World War III that the scriptures have depicted and prophesied, because revelation means a revealing. Revelation speaks in future tense. It's what is to come, and we're currently in that time. And there's more things to come. Things are only going to get worse and worse. Okay? The apostles and elders have been saying it, Things are going to get bad before it gets bad. Okay? And what that means is this is only the beginning. People can see it on the news and still live their life comfortably and feel all right. But in their subconscious, they know that, hey, shit is hitting the fan. They're not really conscious about it, but they're aware, at least some people, because you're going to have the people that are completely clueless, which is majority of people. They're going to be completely clueless. And that's why I have this is bear with me here. Let me see. Slakia. So this is Ephesians chapter 15 verse Slakia chapter 5 verse 15. It says, "See then that ye walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise." And circumspectly is going back to, a circle, being aware, pretty much being vigilant, looking around you, paying attention to what's going on, being hip with the times, so to speak, understanding what times we're in, understanding what these things that we're seeing in the news really mean, understanding that the Epstein files is just a distraction, understanding also that the Epstein files is also the Lord revealing these Edomites, uncovering their wickedness, but also understanding that the war between the US and Iran is a part of prophecy, okay, and it's a sign of the end. Okay, it's a sign of the when the scriptures speak about the end of the world, it's talking about end of a rulership, end of the Edomite reign, because the earth was given into their hands. It still is in their hands. Okay, referencing Job 9 and 24. And when you read Job 9 and 24, it says the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. Okay? So verse 16 says, "Redeeming the time, because the days are evil." And the days are going to be evil. As I mentioned, it's going to get bad before it's bad. All right? There's going to be more deaths, more destruction, more woes, more babies dying, more people starving to death. This is going to be a worldwide thing. And it may not be affecting every place on planet Earth currently, but it's already starting to have an impact. Even she mentioned it, that it's going to affect India as well, because she's from India. She's an Elamite. She's a so-called Indian, So even she understands that. That's what war does. War brings famine of food, water, but it brings shortages. You're going to have shortages of things, man. And oil prices are going to go up, and a lot of things are going to be affected. That's just how it works. That's the effect of war. Okay? And it says, "Wherefore be not unwise, but understanding what the will of Yahweh is. And be not drunk with wine, wherein is excess, but filled with the Spirit." So the Spirit ultimately will guide you and lead you to understand what's happening. Okay? And lead you to understand that faith is what's going to sustain you. Because the times that are coming are evil. As it mentioned in verse 16, "Redeeming the time, because the days are evil." The days ahead are evil. Okay? So let me get I have something here in the BLB real quick, and it says, Matthew chapter 24 reads, "For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. And we have been having earthquakes for days, but that's just the signs of the prophecies. Okay? And that's a beautiful thing to see and experience and understand that the prophecies are speaking, because one day to Yahweh Hashem Yahushai is as 1,000 years to us. So when we in our mortal flesh, get to thinking, even me a few days ago, I'm like, oh, there's always earthquakes. Me talking as a mortal man, it's still the same second or same hour or same minute for Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, because he doesn't operate on our time. So again, reading this, it will have more force. It says, for nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. All these things are the beginning. All these are the beginning of sorrows. And there you go. So it's also like a warning as well, but more so a warning to, it's a warning to you wicked ass people, but you people don't take heed. You don't understand that it's a warning. But the believers, the elect, the hopeful elect, the men of the Lord, we understand that these things are warnings. These things are signs. Okay, these things are the beginning of this, the beginning of the sorrows. Okay, so let me go into this word sorrows before I say anything else. So pain, the pain of childbirth, travail, pain, intolerable anguish, okay, in reference to dire calamities. And that's what's going to happen, man. You people are going to experience things that you've never experienced ever. There's going to be no time like it. You're going to experience things that you've never experienced under any time period that you've came back on the earth in the reincarnation. There will be no time like it. Okay? And you people are going to be forced to do things that you probably thought you would never do. You people are going to be turned into cannibals, because that's how faithless you people are. Because that's just your lot. Your lot is just to be faithless Israelites, man. Wicked ass Israelites that need to be purged, need to be destroyed and brought back in righteousness. I'm speaking to you so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans, because it's not going to be until it's too late that you people are going to want to get right, or try to get right. But you're not going to be able to do that, because you don't know the name of Yahweh, who the world ignorantly calls God. You don't know the name of Yahushai, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. And even some of you that know these names, you're still not really believing. Your faith is not really connecting. You're pretty much pretending. And it's very easy to pretend, because you have men that they have good memory. They memorize scriptures, and they come in this thing and then they fall out. The Lord does that for a reason. The Lord is not impressed by that, because the Lord could lift up stones. It's not all about that shit, man. And I'm not saying it like that because it doesn't matter. It does matter, but it's not all about that. There's more things to this truth, man. Your faith, your understanding, how you use wisdom, how you help the brotherhood. There's so many things, man. How are you towards a brother? Okay? And teaching the word is a part of that as well. Right? And applying the word and the examples that you set. Not being deceitful, being sincere. Okay? These are the things that are important. And faith ultimately is that gift that will help us ride through what is to come. And that's the point of what I wanted to say. Faith, true faith is what's going to be important, because the sorrows that are ahead, it's not going to be easy even for the elect. Even though the scriptures speak about the elect, eating and drinking and laughing and being happy, in these times of sorrow. It doesn't say that the elect is not going to still hunger and thirst and have moments of sadness because we're in the flesh. However, we're going to have faith. We're going to understand what we're going through. So that's a different type of driving force. That's gold. That's priceless. Okay? So even though we'll still feel certain things in the flesh, we believe that we'll still be okay because of understanding, right? And says, then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted and shall kill you, and you shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And this is going to happen as well. This is Yahushua speaking to the elect, telling us what to expect. Because a lot of us are going to be delivered up to be killed because of, our testimony, because of our sacrifice, which we're doing what we're called to do. And what I mean by that is because of us men standing stiffly, boldly, for the truth, for Yahweh Hashem Shai's sake, because we owe our life to Yahweh Hashem Shai, as Yahweh Shai sacrificed his for us, so that we don't have to take on certain things. So what we're doing, being in the highways and being on the highways and the byways, and also being on the internet, the Urim and the Thummim, because that's a miracle in itself, that technology that the Lord has created. Okay, we spread his word, the Lord speaks through us, and that's how each and every elect member is awakened in this time, but we do these videos, man, to warn people, to warn you heathens as well of the destruction that's coming your way, and also you wicked 2/3 of Israel that are allotted to be destroyed, you rejects, and also in hope that the elected of Israel will hear these videos and awaken, okay? Because it is high time to awake out of sleep. Okay, I can get that as well. Let me just get that in Romans chapter, I think it's in 11 as well. Salakia. Romans chapter 11, verse 13, I believe. And it says, it's Romans chapter 13, verse 11. And it reads, and that knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep. What is the time? The times of sorrows are approaching. We're in the times of World War III, the beginning stages. Things are only going to get worse and worse. You want to be good with Yahweh Hashem Shai. You want to be in good graces. You don't want to be in a position where the spirit is neglecting you and you don't understand what the fuck is going on. Then when shit really hits the fan, when all the lights are turned off, you don't know what the hell to do. Because you weren't locked in. You're more locked in with the world. And there's balance to life because you need to do certain things in the world to keep a balance. But you do it in righteousness because you got to give the flesh what the flesh needs as well. But you also got to give the Lord. You got to do the Lord's work. You gotta be locked in spiritually as well. The priority, the things in your mind, in your heart, which your heart is your mind, your spirit. The things of the spirit should be your priority, because all of these things in the world, it just passes away, it fades away, it just makes you upset, vex. It pulls on your emotional strings. All of them fucking demons, man. It's not. We're not of this world, so when we tap into that energy, it feels off. Okay, so it's always good to understand that the truth is all that matters. Yahweh Hashem Shai, the elect, the deliverance, salvation, rulership, ruling in righteousness, thinking in that way, looking ahead, thinking about the kingdom, thinking about what is the right thing to do in each and every situation. Just dwelling on a kingdom where only righteousness dwells. I'm trying to put it in the best way, but only thinking about righteous things really and truly in your spirit, in your heart. Because we all have things that we feed our flesh. I'm not saying anything wicked or anything unlawful, but like there's balance to life, but those things aren't important. It's just that we're in these wicked chains of darkness as a punishment, so we have to live a balanced life. But going back to this scripture, it's a high time to wake out of sleep. It's time to understand that those things aren't important. Okay? And what's important is your relationship with Yahweh Shemel Shai. Because the scripture speaks about working out your own salvation with fear and trembling. Okay, so no man can save you. And he goes on to say, for now is our salvation nearer than we believed. All right? Again, it's high time to wake out of sleep. Because we're in that time. Okay? And this is Matthew chapter, I read this already. Let's see here. So let me get this in second. Where's the Apocrypha here? I think it's Second Esdras chapter 9. Yeah, this is Second Esdras chapter 9, verse 1. And it says, he answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself. And when thou seest part of the signs pass, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit this world which he made. And the highest is talking about Yahweh Shemel Shai. You have to understand that Yahweh gave his son Yahweh Shai, which was the first spirit created, the ultimate power to create all things. And he also created the first spirits, the elect. Okay? Those are the first spirits. So when we see these things come to pass, the earthquakes, the consistent earthquakes for all these years that we've lived, in our mortal flesh, thinking that we're living long lives, which we're not living for any time. As I mentioned before, our time and the Lord's time is different. Okay? But when we see these things come to pass, and these rumors of wars, and these different things that link to prophecy, what does the scripture say? Then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. Because the Lord, declaring the end from the beginning, from the end. All of these things are written. For like as all that is made in the world hath a beginning and an end, the end is manifest. And this wicked Edomite rulership has a day, an expiry day. And we're so close to that day because their kingdom is coming to an end. It's already crumbling. And I always say this. Me and a brother, I always say this to a specific brother. I always say that the US dollar, only thing that is keeping the US in its position is that the US dollar still has that power where people still want to earn it because it has that value. Even though it's losing its value, it's still the preferred choice. And it's just a part of the witchcraft that they have behind the dollar as well, because it's still quote unquote powerful and has more value. But we know that fiat currency, Federal Reserves is not real money. Real money is gold. But that's the trick bag that these Edomites have the whole world in. We're all subject to it as well. I'm not talking like I'm bigger than this shit, but at least I'm aware. At least we're aware of what's going on, and it doesn't have power over us. However, it still has that, that pull, that control, and these devils know how to use what they have to their advantage. So they're gonna rinse the rag until it's dry. They're gonna rinse everything, every little drop out of that dirty ass rag. And that's what the US has right now with the dollar. Okay? So as soon as the Lord says, all right, that's it, then all the nations are already angry. Now, let me just go back to Revelation real quick and jump to verse 18. Salakia. So this is Revelation chapter 11, verse 18. And it says, and the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come. Okay, and again, this is speaking in future tense, that nations are now angry. They're all angry at the whore because they're all drank of the filthy wine. And they all have been corrupted and went in bed and laid with this whore. And they're fed up. And that's why they're gonna throw their arrows. The Lord is gonna have them, fire missiles at Babylon the Great, which is America. Okay, and that's the ultimate end. But none of that is gonna come until Revelation chapter 13 is fulfilled. And that's speaking about the mark of the beast, the MOTB, which the mark of the beast is physical. It's an actual implantation of a device under your skin. And in Revelation chapter 13, it speaks about the right hand and the forehead. And we have RFID, C-hips, we have BCIs, or BMIs, brain machine interfaces. You have Synchron, you have Neuralink, you have Pendromics, and you have many other companies. But those are the three major ones that have been pushed, that are being pushed in the media. But these miracles of the beast are here. And people are already being implanted with these things. It's just not made mandatory as yet. So we know that World War III is not going to come to the end of Babylon the Great. Is not going to fully come until the MOTB, speaking about, in Revelation chapter 13, verse 16. Until that comes to pass, there will be no destruction in Babylon the Great. Okay? But it's like a domino effect. Once that MOTB is made mandatory, Jacob's trouble will be already in play. All of that coincides, and then the world war, the third woe, will be in the last few days. The last few seconds. But literally the last few days for us here on earth today. But for the Lord, it's not even a second, because we're here. We're literally here. You just got to look out for the prophecies. So as soon as you see, the digital systems, advancing more and more, which is already advancing, but Esau moves at a pace. The so-called white man moves at a pace. And the faster and faster and closer and more advanced and more convenient things may seem, you're going to notice, you're going to see the signs. You're going to see that you're not going to be able to travel without certain documents, digital documents. You're not going to be able to use certain type of payments anymore. It's going to get to that point. And things like war can definitely boost it, because we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what Yahweh is going to do in this year, because things are already moving so crazy in 2026. The Lord can cause something to happen with this US and Iran and Israel thing going on to boost up that digital mind framework, to shape it or push it in a direction where the MOTB can be implemented in 2027 or even at the end of this year, where the framework can be set up or forced to be set up in a way to corner everyone, to corner people, to panic and decide, oh, hey, I want to continue living this life. I'm so close to being a millionaire. I can't let a mark, a stupid device, in my right hand, which I can take it out anyways, stop me from living my dreams. This is a mindset that these people are going to have. But we're here to tell you as hopeful men of the Lord that you should say no. You should say to hell with your life. And that's only if you're of the elect. You're going to do that. You're not gonna sell yourself out, sell yourself to the devil to continue living in his world, to continue flying around the globe and think you're living life. You're not going to do that. But these are the choices that you're going to be faced with. You're going to be faced with the choices whether or not you're going to let your child starve or you're going to take the mark. And most of you men and women, you're not going to let your children starve because you love your children more than Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, and that's not how it's supposed to be. And that's okay. I understand that's the spirit that the Lord has put on you people. But you got to love Yahweh Hashem Yahushai first. And then everything else falls after that. Even more than yourself. Because we as hopeful elect, you owe your life to Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. Who the fuck are we? We're wicked, filthy beings, man. You know? And I'm just speaking from the perspective of being in the flesh. Because the flesh is wicked. Not talking about her spirit, because her spirit is good. It comes from Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. But being in the flesh, man, it's hell. And that's the hell that the Bible speaks of. This is a type of hell. All right? Again, verse 18 says, and the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come, and the time of the dead, that they should be judged, and that thou shouldest give reward unto thy servants, the prophets, and to the saints. And the saints are the elect, and them that fear thy name. Who fears the name of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai? Who loves Yahweh Hashem Yahushai more than themselves? The saints. And them that fear thy name, small and great, and shouldest destroy them which destroy the earth. And who destroys the flipping earth? These so-called Edomites, man. So-called white people. And you other nations as well. But he's your leader. He's the man that you follow. He's the man that the Lord set up over all nations. You know, that's why the earth is still mourning. The people are still mourning because the righteous, the saints, aren't ruling. But I'm here to tell you that the saints are going to take the kingdom and rule it forever. Under Yahushai on down. King David on down. You know, the 144,000 men on down to the rest of the 1/3 of Israel. Chosen, elect. And our kingdom, all you Israelites, even you wicked ass 2/3, you will be brought back into the kingdom as well. And you will be rulers and ruling the earth in righteousness and teaching the heathen how to be righteous. Because they're not going to have the laws written in them as we will. They're not going to be perfect, so we're going to have to show them the ways. And that's this misconception people have. Oh, God loves everybody. Everybody will be saved. In a sense, the other nations are still going to be saved, but not in the way that we're going to be saved and delivered. They're going to be saved because of our righteousness. Okay? That we're going to teach them and guide them. That's why they're going to come to the mountain of Israel to learn, to understand our ways, because we're the gods of the earth. We're the chosen people. So they're not going to mourn. They're going to rejoice in that time. They're going to be happier than they are now. They're going to have their lands. They're going to have everything. But a destruction has to come. A world war has to come. So in the video, let me play back some of this. She goes into, you know, some questions, whether or not, no, she answers some questions that were posed to her, you know, by the news station's audience, right? And she did her best to answer some of the questions, but you can hear in some of the answers that she's hopeful. She sounds like a hopeful woman. Like, most likely it's not going to lead to nuclear destruction. Pretty much, that's what she said. But it is going to lead to that. That's what a world war leads to. Now, initially, now between the US and Iran, it may not lead to that, immediately, but it's going to happen over time. Things are going to get worse. Okay? So it is going to lead to that. You can't escape the destruction that's coming. Okay? So let me see here before actually what am I looking for here? The BLB. So this is okay. So Lord willing, I can close with this. And before I read that, and this is gonna come again. This is Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 9. For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon, which Babylon is referring to nowadays, refers to America, which is modern day Babylon. And it says, an assembly of great nations from the north country, and they shall set themselves in array against her. And that's happening right now. From thence she shall be taken, their arrows shall be as a mighty expert man, none shall return in vain. So this also a good precept to link with this is the one that goes into the horse is not losing their rank, which that's referring to the ICBM missiles, meaning they're not gonna go off and miss the target, and that target is Babylon the Great. So the rank, the direction, the arrows, they're not gonna miss. Okay? And none of them will return in vain. It's going to do that which the Lord has set it out to do. And this is Isaiah chapter 34, verse 5. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea. And what's Idumea? Edom. And upon the people of my curse to judgment. And these so-called white people are the people of Yahweh Shem Shai's curse. Their appearance itself is a curse. They have the mark of Cain. Okay, they're Esau, Edom. They're Edomites. That's why they came out red all over. That's that mark that they have on them. Lack of pigmentation. But I just wanted to go in the word here, Edom, Idumea, and he said, Edom, red. Edomite, descendants of Esau. And you so-called white people are Edomites. You're not Jews. You're not Egyptians, which Egyptians are Hamites. You're not so-called Negroes, which are the true Jews. You're not from Barbados. You're not from Jamaica. You're not a so-called African American. You are a gutter rat. You are a red man. Because your blood shows through your skin. You lack pigmentation. Okay? You're not the chosen people. You like to steal identities. However, your destruction is coming. Thus saith Yahweh Shem Shai. Again, this is Isaiah chapter 34, verse 5. For my sword and the Lord's sword is you Edomites. The Lord will use you to destroy yourself because you are the Lord's sword, but your blessing is also the sword. And you create all of these weapons and you ship it all over the earth and make money from it. You make merchandise of it. That's what's going to be your destruction. Nuclear destruction is coming to your precious United States of America, which is modern day Babylon the Great. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea, upon the people of my curse, to judgment. And the sword of Yahweh is filled with blood. It is made fat with fatness, and with blood of lambs and goats, with the fat of with the fat of the kidneys of rams. For Yahweh hath a sacrifice in Bozrah, and a great slaughter in the land of Idumea. So there's going to be a great slaughter of you Edomites. You know, he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Okay? So I said all of that to say, all of this that's happening with the U.S. and Iran is beautiful, man. And things are just going to get worse before it gets bad. You know, this is only the beginning. Okay? And you people are going to get scared before you get scared. And you're going to tremble before you tremble more and more and more and more until your heart fails. Because it's not going to be real for you people. I'm telling you, we have never experienced anything anything like what's coming. Never. Thus saith Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. And the time of Jacob's trouble is going to be a time that has never been, a time like no other. Okay? And we're warning you, potential elect members, hopeful elect, to wake out of sleep. And let me also say it this way, we do these videos because the Lord still has a spirit on us to do these videos, because the elect is still out there, and the elect needs to hear these messages, and the body in itself needs these videos to inspire, to do more videos, and also to motivate and just be in one spirit, because the scripture speaks about Yahweh and Yahushai being one, and so is his elect. We are also one with Yahweh. We are also one with each other. The brotherhood. Okay, that's a part of the spirit. That's a part of this whole journey, enduring until the end. Iron sharpens iron. We all help each other in ways that we don't even know sometimes. So that's the point that I'm making. Kahalal Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. All praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. Thought Yahweh Hashem Yahushai for this truth. Thought Yahweh Hashem Yahushai for these prophecies. Thought Yahweh Hashem Yahushai for the understanding of these prophecies. Living and seeing these prophecies, knowing what it means. That we're at the end. That we're so much closer to getting the fuck out of this place. But I'm going to leave it there. And with that, as always, all praises, honor, and glory goes to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rakahakwadash, Abad Babal, death to Babylon.